You're watching Breakthrough News.
Hi everyone, I'm Charlotte Hohenstein and you're watching Breakthrough News on BTR Today. Today I'm joined by BTR's Molly and Dane from The Hash. Thank you, both of you, for joining me in the studio today. And we're talking about, the issue of the hour, which is New Year's resolutions. What's the point? No, that's not. That's not the message. That's not the message of the interview. But at this turning point, New Year's resolutions. Do you guys actually make New Year's resolutions?
I don't think I've ever made a New Year's resolution. Actually, I don't.
You've never made
no
one,
in my
but
family
it's
does.
such a thing,
It
right?
is
I mean,
a
everyone
thing.
talks about it. The U.S., government actually has a website for information related to the most popular ones. It's clearly a big. So, like, why have you never done that?
Well, I think I've never done it because my family has never done it. My mother, my father, nobody in my family has ever made New Year's resolutions. So no one in my life ever made them when I was growing up. Now my friends don't make them either. I mean, Dane doesn't either.
It seems like it's the thing that everyone talks about that no one actually does.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, haven't actually really properly attempted one in a while. I think sort of over the course of teenagehood, it was more of a thing. But Dane, are you better about this?
I mean, no. I don't want to say that it's better or worse. I mean, I'm sort of under the impression that it's a better idea to reflect on the previous year and then make changes based on that. So, if you're making a resolution to, the typical one is to get fit, there's a reason why you want to do that, which must mean that you don't think that you did a good enough job maintaining or being fit in 2014, if that's your goal for 2015. So it's important to look back and say, well, did I not do enough in 2014 to do that? Or is this my goal every year? And if it's your goal every year, then maybe you need to reassess.
Right. If you're making the same resolution every single year, which also does seem to be a thing.
It does.
As you say, I mean, it's always like, I'm going to go to the gym more. But then there's also this sense of, I mean, almost part of the stereotype of New Year's resolutions is that no one keeps them.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And that's kind of why it's a conversation every year. It's like, gyms, even gyms know that this is the time to capitalize on memberships. So I think in general, like if I decide I'm going to use the Get Fit thing again anyway, just because I actually recently made a goal for myself to do more, because I was just feeling like I wasn't doing enough and I wasn't happy with where I was at. So I think it's important, if you want to make a change, why are you waiting until the new year? Why does it have to be a calendar year? And if you're going to make a resolution or a goal, you need to make it a goal-oriented goal. You can't just make it something that you're not going to be able to complete. And you should give yourself checkpoints throughout the year. Otherwise, by the time January is over, you're going to be done.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if we're looking at this list of the most popular New Year's resolutions, they're all very vague. Lose weight, quit smoking, get a better education, volunteer to help others more. I mean, they aren't really goals the way that Dane is saying. Like, they aren't concrete things that you can achieve and like set, certain goals for over time. They're just sort of like general and
you have to make it specific to you.
Yeah.
Right. Like, yes, get a better job. Very worthwhile thing to be doing.
Yeah,
probably for anyone, just by the definition of that phrase. But just setting out, at some point you have to make it more.
I mean, like, get a job at a specific company that you really like, or get a, or if you're more money oriented, get a job with a salary of a certain number, or that pays a certain number per hour, or something like that. Be a little bit more specific, because I think it's easier to achieve when you have a clear idea of what you're going for, rather than just this general idea of, I want to get a better job. Like, yeah, everyone wants to get a better job. That's a fairly general desire in life.
It is.
But if you, set a concrete goal of like, I'm going to work for this company by March or whatever, that's more easier to attain.
And in that, you also need to set yourself smaller goals in the hopes of attaining that bigger goal. So again, if your goal is to take a trip, which is another one of these big goals that people set, which I'm the same way. I mean, most people with jobs have a certain number of allotted days that they're allowed to take off. And a lot of companies let you kind of have that rolling vacation. So if you didn't take any days in 2014, you get to keep them in 2015. That's all well and good. But what if you just keep stocking up all these dates and you don't go anywhere? So it's a good idea to like pick a buddy, decide where you want to go. And then if the problem is that you don't have the money right now, you have to set up these kind of checkpoints, where like you're putting money aside for the flights and you're checking the flights and you're figuring out when you want to go. Because if you're just like, oh yeah, I'm going to travel, you're not going to do it.
Dane, you should be a life coach. Anyway, we're gonna take a break with an excerpt from Live Studio. We will be right back.
In another life, we'll master this. We'll understand faster. We'll share the good times again. In another on the forehead, where it lines up on the road. On the timeline, where the end is gonna meet somehow.
We're back with Molly and Dane talking about New Year's resolutions. Dane, I really liked what you said earlier about the need for reflections. I don't think that's a big enough part of the conversation, to be honest, because it's true. I mean, presumed within the idea of a resolution is reflection, but I think that there's not enough emphasis on that and taking stock, you know.
I agree. And, I think, this kind of puts us more into the kinds of things that we talk about on our show. It's really important to also take stock of your relationships, not just to make resolutions that are for yourself. So I think it's a good idea to every year kind of sit down with your family or even just your friends, like your close friends, and kind of talk about how it went for you two or you three or four or whatever it is. I've always been a big proponent for communication. And if you're finding yourself like, yeah, I'm not too happy with how this friendship went this year, even if it's just a friendship, like, yeah, we didn't really hang out or we didn't really talk, you should sit down and talk about it and figure out why.
So it seems like there is still something valuable. I know we were saying, if you have a goal, just do it. Why are we waiting for, this sort of arbitrary cutoff point, which is basically just a number. But I think maybe that there is still a value to having that and almost having those rituals available. I don't know, Molly, do you actually sort of mark the new year in any particularly like significant way for yourself, or does it just come and go pretty seamlessly?
Especially in college, New Year's Eve was when, I was home for the holidays and I had already visited my family on Christmas. So New Year's Eve was really the time when I got to see my friends from high school again. And I always spend New Year's Eve with my high school friends who, are just my friends now. But I feel like for New Year's Eve, there's a huge culture of like forgetting the last year and just thinking about the future and not really reflecting on the past, which I think
which is weirdly pessimistic and optimistic
Completely.
at the same time.
Well, I always see, like, I'm on Tumblr and I talk about this all the time on the hash, but a lot of posts are sort of talking about like, oh, 2014 was garbage, I can't wait for 2015. But then the next year it's like 2015 was garbage, can't wait for 2016. It's always
Totally.
the same thing every single year, thinking like the next year is going to be great, but not really, because you're just hoping for something and not really, making goals to achieve, a better life, the life that you actually want.
And why, why does thinking that a year that just passed was particularly good have to imply that the next year is going to be bad? It could actually just be the complete opposite. Oh, 2014 was fantastic. 2015 was fantastic. 2016, it was all great,
It's all, it's
Unlikely.
all how you look at it. Good and bad things happen every single year. That's what
and
life
every
is.
Day.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we're going to wrap up there. I wish everyone watching this all the best in taking stock of 2014, and if that's your thing, putting together some productive resolutions and following them through. Thank you, Dane and Molly, for joining me today. We'll be back after another excerpt from Live Studio on BTR Today.
In the face, in the crowd, is it all? In the boats, running right with the tide. In the beach, boys, with the song.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Be sure to check out breakthroughradio.com through the weekend for our continued holiday week coverage, including BTR's very own holiday bucket list and some suggestions on how to get creative with holiday decor. That's it for us here at Breakthrough News. Tell us what's breaking through your world on Twitter at Breakthrough Radio. I'm Charlotte Hohenstein, and thank you for joining us.